Have you ever thought that your high school memories were harmless? A prom night, a new friend, a seemingly meaningless Snapchat message. But sometimes, it's those very moments that open the door to things you never want to face. In today's video, you'll hear 3 terrifying true stories told by the very people who lived through them. And to this day, they haven't forgotten. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare to step into the darkness. Story 1. The Woman's Voice in the Woods. By the football field. I was a senior when this happened. A dull little town where the only exciting thing on a weekend night was the high school football game. That Friday was a home game. I went with my best friend JJ, and we brought 2 girls along, Kayla and Ashley. We smuggled a few bottles of Four Loko into water bottles to sneak past security. Not our first time, not the last. We sat at the top row of the bleachers. The game was so bad that people started leaving by the 3rd quarter. The sky got dark fast, and by the time the final whistle blew, it was nearly just us left. The stadium lights turned off. Silence fell. Only the cold moonlight lit up the empty field. JJ Tipsy turned to me and squinted. "Wanna go mess around in the woods?" Behind the stadium was a fenced-off patch of woods. Old chain link with a torn section everyone knew about. Students would sneak in there to smoke or do dumb stuff. The girls immediately said no. JJ looked at me, and we both took off running toward the woods, half to spook them, half hoping they'd follow. They did. We slipped through the fence down a slope covered in dry leaves. The air instantly changed, cooler still, like we'd stepped out of the world. Once we were far enough in, JJ nudged me, signaling to hide behind a big tree to scare the girls as they came. We held our breath, trying not to laugh as we heard footsteps approaching. Then JJ stopped smiling. He touched my shoulder and whispered, "Look over there." I turned and froze. Between 2 trees about 30 feet away stood a tall, pitch-black figure. Still, like it absorbed the moonlight. No movement, no sound. But I knew it was watching us. Then a voice, a woman's voice, soft, raspy, unfamiliar. "You shouldn't be here." Time stopped. That shadow began to move toward us. But it didn't walk. No footsteps, no crunching leaves. It glided, as if sliding through the air. JJ whispered, barely audible, "Run." We bolted. Shouting for Kayla and Ashley, we found them in the dark and dragged everyone toward the fence. Back in the car, I couldn't catch my breath. JJ gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the woods, as if expecting it to follow. "You saw it?" "Right," I asked. JJ just said, "If you didn't, I'd think I was losing my mind." No one spoke after that. I didn't sleep that night. Months later, I was working a summer janitor job at our school. One afternoon, while mowing the courtyard, I looked up and saw a woman watching me from a 2nd-floor window. Gray hair, softly curled face faint behind sunlit glass. I waved. She didn't react. I ran inside, brought the supervisor to the classroom she was in. The 2nd floor was dead silent. All rooms locked, lights off. That classroom completely empty. Another day, I was mopping the math hallway, playing music on a small radio. Then, her voice again. "Boy." I shut the music off, heart pounding. I opened every door. Every classroom was empty. But I remembered that voice, exactly like the one from the woods. Since then, I never returned to the woods behind the field, and I never entered the 2nd-floor classrooms alone. I don't know who she was. I don't know why I saw her in both places, the forest and the school. But I believe she's still out there waiting for someone else to step into the dark. Story 2. Craig, the guy who didn't want to be just friends. I met Craig on a Friday morning. First period astronomy. The teacher liked to joke around, and when Craig, the new kid, walked in, He made him introduce himself in front of the whole class. White guy, light brown hair, barely their mustache like he just tried shaving for the first time. Not ugly, not memorable, just a forgettable face. Craig sat next to me, the last empty seat in the back. He nodded, said hey, then asked my name. I answered politely. I'd been the new kid once too. When the teacher paired us up for group work, Craig picked me right away. I agreed. Nothing seemed off yet. But even in that one class, he got too familiar. Craig cracked dirty jokes, laughed loud at stuff no one else found funny. When I forced a smile, he tilted his head. You don't think that's funny? I brushed it off as social awkwardness. But at lunch, things got weirder. It was just me and Liam. Mike was out sick, and Craig suddenly pulled up a chair right next to me. He slapped my back like we were lifelong buddies. Liam gave me a confused look. Craig started telling bizarre stories about dead rats behind his grandma's house and playing with a pocket knife. I felt uneasy. After school, I walked home. My phone rang. Unknown number. Turn around. I did. Craig was jogging after me, waving like crazy. Don't you live nearby? He asked, then just followed me. I told him I had plans with friends. Where with Liam? Let me come. I said Liam's mom doesn't allow strangers over. Craig just smiled. But I noticed. He didn't turn off. He kept walking behind me until I got to my front door. I forced a laugh, said goodbye. He fist bumped me, walked off, but turned to look back. Twice. A few hours later, I got a text. Why is there a cop car in front of your house? Startled, I ran outside. No police car, just Craig, standing in my yard. He chuckled. Just messing. Wanted to see if you were really home. I slammed the door shut, heart racing. Minutes later, another text. You're just like the rest of them. I thought you were different. I sent the texts to my group chat. They were shocked. One said his family moves around a lot because of stuff like this. Craig didn't show up to class the next day, and I never saw him again. But every time I open my door at night, I still feel like someone's standing just beyond the fence, waiting for me to look out. Story 3. The door to the basement. I met Chester on the first day of senior year, the year I got held back. It was a small school. Middle and high school shared the same building. I knew almost everyone, except Chester. He was sitting alone that morning, staring out the window. I walked up, greeted him. He turned, smiled faintly, shook my hand, and said his name. Seemed normal, until he asked, "Where do you live? Can I have your address?" I laughed it off. Didn't answer. He said Snapchat. Then I gave it to him just to end the convo. That afternoon in English class, I saw Chester sitting far away, but staring at me. He was chewing a dry sandwich, eyes locked on me, motioning with his hand, as if calling me over. I ignored him. He asked to go to the restroom. 5 minutes later, I left too, curious. I saw him walking into a little used hallway, just a few old rooms and a storage closet. He opened a door and vanished. I got closer. It was the basement stairs. Almost no one went down there. I didn't follow. Back in class, I got a Snapchat. Why didn't you come down? Attached was a photo. Chester in the basement. Behind him, a wall covered in pictures. One of them was me, sitting in class, taken from behind. That night, he spammed me with messages. Why'd you block me? I know where you live. I'm outside your door. Then, a shatter. Glass breaking in the kitchen. I ran upstairs, hid in the closet. Through the crack, I saw Chester at the end of the hall, hunched eyes scanning, like he could smell fear. He moved closer, reached for the closet. The lights cut out. I held my breath. Then, Police sirens. He bolted. They found he'd escaped through the basement. No one knew how he got inside. Next morning, I reported it. What they told me froze my blood. There's no student named Chester in our records. Cameras showed him sneaking in through the side door, blending in with students. He didn't belong here, but he wanted me to go down into that basement. I still don't know what would have happened if I had. And maybe I don't want to. 3 stories. 3 memories that will never fade. A woman in the woods. A stalker in student disguise. A name that never existed in any record. You might think it's all coincidence, but when darkness falls, when footsteps echo behind you, remember some things should never be investigated further. If you've experienced something similar, leave a comment. Who knows? Your story might be the next one told here. Thanks for watching. See you again in the shadows.